Thanks so much for listening to No Lions Here with me, Big Panda. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to No Lions Here. My name is Big Panda, and I'm a recovering sex addict. Before we jump into the episode today, I just want to give a shout out to my sponsor of the show and of this episode, Begin Again Institute. If you or anybody you know is suffering from sex or porn addiction, definitely go check out the work that they're doing over at Begin Again. It's an amazing program, completely transformed my life, gave me the running start that I needed into my own recovery. So I'm super grateful for them and really grateful for them to still be connected to them. And yeah, so just definitely go check them out. Their description will be in the info below. And if you do go see them, hey, tell them Big Panda sent you. All right. Actually, speaking of BAI, I'm really grateful. I got an email this week from Nate Geyer. I've had Nate on the podcast a couple times. Definitely go check out the episodes with him. An amazing therapist. And just an amazing human being as well. He reached out and actually connected me and their partner intensive. They now have a partner intensive. Now, I don't know all the details on it. I would assume that probably it runs along with the men's intensive. Again, I'm not too sure. But they have a clinical director of that program, their partner intensive and their partner aftercare. And he put me in touch with her. And so I've actually got a phone call with her tomorrow to kind of talk some resources and things like that, and then getting her on the podcast as well. So actually really excited for that because I've actually been talking to a betrayed partner, and there's resources that are out there. However, the resources they're not the same as if I say that I need help or an addict needs help. And, I've kind of touched on this before, is that the resources for partners, the resources and the information around sexual addiction, that stuff's all kind of, there's not a whole lot about there. So if there's not a whole lot about, the actual addiction, the sexual addiction, the resources for partners is even less. So I'm grateful that I'm paired with her, that we can, kind of talk a little bit more about that. So I'm excited to get her on, ask Nate to come back on. So, looking forward to having some guests. And, the podcast is going to kind of change a little bit, probably into the new year, right? So we're in November now. Holy crap, we're in November. This year's gone by. I think things are going to look a little different in January for me. The podcast, I love doing it. And this is something I've been kind of struggling with me. So bear with me here, because I know that I've talked about this before, but just the whole idea around staying up with it and the work that goes into it, right? I'm not complaining about the work. However, it is a lot of work. And being a one-man kind of show right now, I'm finding that I'm struggling to find not necessarily the time, but the energy to, because it's not as simple as just coming in and sitting down and talking. I've got that all day long. That's the one part about podcasting that that I don't have an issue with, right? I don't have an issue with coming in and sitting down and knowing that hey, I'm going to go sit down and I'm going to ramble for 45 minutes to an hour, and it's all going to make sense and it's going to help somebody. Cool. I got that. It's the other stuff that goes into it, the legwork, the talking to guests, reaching out to guests, getting guests on, that's kind of where, the capacity is just not really high. I almost use the term lacking there, right? But I think that in recovery, the wording that we use is very important. And that if we change simple words and how we phrase things, that can help kind of rewrite the perspective a little bit, right? Because this thing's all about perspective and how I view things. And I think that my terminology and my language goes into that, right? So if I sit here and I say I'm lacking, to me, now this is just to me, there's a shame base to that, lacking, you're lacking at this, I'm lacking at this. Again, makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, or that there's more in me to give. And I think that we go through this in our lives, is I'm reminded of my capacity and being honest with myself, right? If I want to invest in the honesty, if we're looking back at the four pillars that I kind of talk about a lot is, willingness, spirituality, honesty, and connection, right? So if I'm looking at the honest connection, the honesty and the connection piece, right? Well, one, I got to be willing to even look at it. So right there, right? All right, the willingness is there. Let me look at this. All I got to do is look at it, right? So the willingness is there. And then if I'm looking at the honesty, the connection to myself, the honesty, and connecting with myself and saying, hey, like, my capacity is just, it's not there right now. Now, the really cool thing about capacity is that it ebbs and flows, right? We have seasons. It comes and it goes, right? It's constantly changing, or it can constantly change. It can be something that changes. And so, it's definitely one of those things where, like, my capacity, if I got to be honest with myself, if I sit down and if I really connect with myself, I can honestly say that, like, my capacity for doing some of the other legwork around the show just hasn't been real high. Hasn't been real high at all. Now, does that mean that I need to beat myself up? Again, this is where the wording, the perspective all comes into play, right? I remember when I first started the podcast, or not even like first started it, it was probably whenever I got the studio, back when I was operating out of my own studio. There was the drive, the push, was the motivation. The motivation was trying to think of a good word to use. The motivation was to, like, strike it big almost. If I'm being completely honest, like, the motivation was views and likes and interactions and followers and, like, let's go, 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 push, 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 which, the following, right? I still do care about that, right? In a selfish way. Yeah, I want this thing to blow up. Now, I want it to blow up because of the message, not because of me, not because of anything that I will gain from it, whether that be monetary or anything like that. I truly want this thing to get bigger, and I want to see where I can take this thing because I believe that there's a need for it. And I also believe in the message. And the message is not Alex. The message is of hope and help and healing. And I am a conduit for my higher power, for God. I am simply just the messenger. I am simply someone that God gave a gift to, that I am okay with being in front of things. And so, like, that's what I believe in. And that's what I want to push. Right? We're human beings, right? So there's always going to be an Alex agenda underneath all of these things. Of course, absolutely. Would I love it if this thing, would I love it for this thing to provide me with a comfortable living? Absolutely. And who knows, maybe one day it will. However, like, at this point in time, right, with where I'm at, and this is definitely, like, measurable growth. I mean, we're always looking for, I think anybody's human beings or anybody who's in the recovery space and just trying to get better, we're constantly kind of looking for I need this measurable growth, right? Like, I got this door jam behind me, and it's when you were a kid, right, standing up against it and marking it and seeing, oh, the mark's a little higher. All right, man, I'm growing big and strong, and I think in recovery, that's what we want to see too, right? I want to see my height growing. And a lot of times it's really hard to see because a lot of times it's internal, it's slow, it's painstaking at times. We often take steps back before we take steps forward. And so I think, like, in this moment, being able to see some of the growth around my mindset and my perspective of, hey, I'm trying to take Alex's agenda out of this as much as I possibly can and making this about the agenda of the message. And the message is, like, no matter what shame you're feeling, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've done, you're not alone. There is help and there is healing. And all it takes is for you to stand up, raise your hand, and say, I need help. Right? Sometimes I think for us guys, though, I need help. Those three words are some of the hardest words to say. Right? So again, the message is what I believe in, and the message is what I want to push. And I believe that we are in a society today that needs this message more now than ever. And I also believe that we're kind of riding that wave of, hey man, this thing's going to break open at some point in time. right? The message around sexual addiction and intimacy disorders and the healing that's out there, right? Like I believe we're on a wave of this thing just breaking wide open and it being more and more normalized, right? More and more normalized in the conversations that we have around sex and the conversations that we have around porn and the conversations around why we partake in these types of things and what drives us to do these things. And like, hey, you're not a broken person for the things that you like or the things that you're into, right? You can integrate these. Let's just figure out how to integrate these as a healthy element into our life, right? And to be able to express myself in a way, sexually that doesn't make unreasonable demands on my time, energy, or put me in any kind of legal danger or spiritual danger, and that's what this program has afforded me. And if it's afforded me that, then it's afforded you that as well, or anybody listening, or anybody out there that's struggling, right? Like, you can turn this thing around. There is help out there. I don't care where you're at right now. The fact of the matter is you're listening to this. So, like, good job. Like, I'm proud of you. If nobody has told you today, right? Like, I believe in you and I am proud of you. Again, even just listening to this show, right? Even if you don't know where to start, or you don't know where you're going or where you're headed or what to do next, the fact of the matter is that, like, you turned this show on today, and for that, you're taking an action, right? And actions are what we need to be taking, right? Sometimes the best actions that I can do today is maybe just listen to a podcast, maybe make a phone call, maybe just be nice to myself. And so if no one's told you that, like, I believe in you. And again, I'm not just saying this. I'm not. I truly mean that, right? Because somebody did that for me. Somebody did that. I can't remember specifically. Obviously BAI, in that whole, those therapists and the guys that I met there, in the trenches with me, like, those were some of the guys that really helped form this for me early on, and there were so many people, other people along the way that basically, like, took the time to invest in me when I didn't think that I was worth it at all. And it helped me to start to see the things that I had in myself and believe in myself. It took somebody to see something inside of me that said, hey man, you're worth it. Like, keep going. And so to anybody, who's been in my corner, like, I say thank you. Like, truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I wouldn't be where I'm at without the support that I've had around me. And, that took work on my part. I did the work, and I'm continuing to do the work, whatever that looks like, right? Like, it's all going to look a little different for somebody, but I mean, I'm sure I wasn't easy to deal with, I'm sure I wasn't, acting out, all that acting out that I did, even though I had this knowledge of what I needed to do, right? And this month, November, it's my brother's birthday today, actually. I need to text him. I'll do that later. Actually, you know what? I'll do that later. I'll do it later. This month, here in 13 days, God willing, because today's the 6th, I'm recording this on the 6th. God willing, I'll have a year and a half clean and sober from bottom line behaviors. Now, the urges have been there recently, guys. We can kind of get into kind of where I've been, because there's some updates, and yeah, I'm excited to update you guys. So we'll kind of transition over into where I've been. But again, like, if you're listening to this right now, thank you for who you are. Thank you for being you. And if you need to connect, please reach out. So with where I've been, there's a lot going on, exciting stuff, good stuff, scary stuff. It's all good though, right? Like, so I think the last time I was on, I think I was getting ready to go talk to my parents about some financial help. Sorry. And, moving down, an hour and 20 minutes away. So that's in full effect, right? So here in about a month, I'm moving away from where I live, and I'm moving down to, to with the girlfriend. And so with that is I went to work, And I said, hey, look, like, because, I was looking for a job down there, and when Beanie came to me and said, hey, Alex, I really think that maybe you should go part-time somewhere, ask for help from your parents, which my parents were able to help me out financially. It's interesting, though, because, like, it actually wasn't in a way that I thought it was going to be. They're helping me 100% sure, but I we didn't wipe out this debt. I got about $10,000 in credit card debt, high interest that I'm trying to get out from under. Now I just don't make enough money to really put a dent in things. So it's just the interest is just piling up. And it's making me feel like I can't really get anywhere. So, I wanted to ask them for some kind of relief there to just help me, right? A loan, I can pay them back. And because that's something I'm totally willing to do. I'm trying to get out from underneath this. And so essentially I went to him. I was just nervous. I went to him. I talked to him. And we actually had a really good conversation. My parents were very willing to help out. Now, again, it wasn't in a way that I thought it was going to be, though, right? Like, I got to watch my expectations. Now, with that being said, again, measurable, right? For me is, they didn't help me out in the way that I wanted. I wanted them to cut me a check right then and there. Here's a check, Alex. Go put it in. Take care of it, right? Didn't look like that. It didn't look like that. And that's okay. That's okay. They're helping me. And that's the most important part, right? Is it's not how I wrote it up, which is okay. It's the fact of the matter is that they're helping me, right? And even just having that perspective is different for me, right? Because I could have gotten butthurt. I could have gotten, in my feelings. However, like, I'm grateful that they're in a position to help. First and foremost, right? Because they could have told me no. They could have said, nope, sorry, man, can't do it. That's always a possibility. And we didn't end up going that route. So I'm really grateful for that. Okay. So now with that help, I feel like I'm able to go part-time. Now the question at that point in time was, okay, what do we do? Where do we go? What does that look like? Is that a part-time job at Lowe's? So basically the whole point of going part-time is to work on the podcast, right? Because I started this off by talking about, man, I want to be able to invest more. I just don't have the capacity right now. And so going part-time will open up some capacity for me to really kind of get back to, I say pushing this thing, but it's really growing it. Like, I want to grow it. I want to get back to having the professional guests on, others in recovery, just more time to create content and grow this thing, not push it. I want to grow it. I want to grow it because I believe in this thing. I believe in what I'm doing in this realm. And so I want to continue to invest in that and grow this thing. So it's going to help me grow the podcast. First and foremost, it's going to give me capacity, mental and emotional capacity, right? And physical time capacity to do that. So we're going to do that. And then also too, I want to get my coaching business. I want to really look at the coaching business and get this thing off the ground and figure out what it's going to take, or what the next move is. So I had a client, and that client had to drop because of some financial reasons, which all good. However, like, I really want to look at that now. I've also been kind of debating and contemplating, going back to school to become a therapist. Now, if I go that route, it's going to take me 8 years before I can practice on my own. Now, that sounds very daunting. And of course, if I break it down like that, then yeah, that sounds really daunting. So far out in front of me, there's a lot of work to be done. Holy crap, because I don't have a degree. So I'd have to go back, basically start from scratch. And so recently, I was actually introduced to the idea of going back, doing a program to become a life coach. Now, I had Tracy Trost on, and I'm going to have her on again soon. She was a life coach that's been coming into the treatment center. Hey guys, I just want to take a minute to share something deeply personal and transformative in my journey of recovery. I've been where you might be right now, struggling with the weight of addiction and feeling lost. But there's a place that offered me a new beginning, a place I truly believe in. It's called Begin Again Institute. At Begin Again, they understand the deep-rooted trauma behind addiction. Their 14-day intensive program for men tackles the neurobiological aspects of addiction head-on. It's not just about breaking a habit. It's about understanding and healing the underlying trauma that formed it in the first place. And for those who have been impacted by betrayal, Begin Again extends care to partners of addicts too. Their partner support program is offered at no additional cost to the family and runs alongside the men's intensive. This program helps participants gain an understanding of the trauma they've experienced and sets them on their own path to healing. If you or someone you love are grappling with sexual addiction, pornography addiction, or intimacy issues, Begin Again Institute can be that pivotal step towards recovery and a new lease on life. Remember, you can't go back and change the past, but it's never too late to begin again. To learn more about their life-changing program, visit beginagaininstitute.com or call 720-776-9076 to reserve your spot in the next 2-week intensive. I promise, it'll be the best call that you ever make for yourself. Stay strong, keep fighting, and keep tuning in to No Lions Here for more conversations about recovery, resilience, and hope. And working with some clients and running some groups. And I was talking to her, and it's really cool, right? The connections that we make. Every time I see her, she's asking me about the move and what am I going to do? And we started talking about work, and I was talking to her about going part-time and, doing this and working on that. And she was like, Alex, you should. She's like, I don't know if the therapist, I don't know if that's a good, I don't know if that's a good investment for you right now. Maybe look at becoming a life coach. It's a much shorter program, cheaper. It gets your foot in the door. And that's kind of like, so what I'm looking at with what I really want to do with my life, right? If I could sit here and tell you right now, this is what I want to do. This is what I would like my life to look like. And obviously this all comes with work, right? So this is what I would like my life to look like. I would like my life to look like I want to do public speaking. I'd like to travel and do some public speaking around the message of sexual addiction and men's mental health in general. I'm essentially giving you guys my goals here, right? So public speaking. I want to go out. I believe that I've got a gift. I believe that I'm a good speaker. I have a presence about me. I have an energy that I bring to the table. I want to go public speak. I want to have my own coaching business, right? I want to see clients one-on-one. I want to work with guys in intimacy disorders, sexual addiction. I want to work with guys there. And then I want to have those are the three things. That's what between those three things, that's how I want to make my living. Now, I've already got one of three. Podcast. So honestly, if I could quit everything today and Alex, this is what do you want to do? That's what I want to do. Plain and simple. That is what I want to do. So now I'm just trying to figure out okay, so the public speaking thing, let me just kind of flush this out a little bit. Cause I'm I work in the industry. I got a podcast, I'm knowledgeable, but I just don't have the quote unquote letters behind my name to put me into those spaces of, I don't want to say credibility, because obviously I have the lived experience with this thing and that's all credible and valid but how do you get your foot in the door on these things? I really don't know. And so that's what comes to my mind, right? Is the certifications, the licensing, that will help get my foot in the door on these things, specifically speaking, the public speaking stuff. The business, I do believe that I could create a coaching business, right? Whether that's recovery coaching or life coaching. So, and so I want to be, and I believe that my higher power speaks to me through other people, right? So I want to be mindful of the conversations that I'm having and, the information that's coming to me. It's okay, let's explore that, right? So that got brought up in conversation of somebody that, I trust. Okay, so let me look into that. Let me look into life coaching. Tracy sent me, where she went. And so, okay, so let me look into this. So I got to do some research. So I'm going to do some research into that. So it's okay, I've got some goals of what I want kind of life to look like. Now, I'm obviously aware that, goals change and that, God's involved in all of this too. And so if there's work for me to be done in other areas, that's where God's going to take me. Clearly I've seen that. So with all that being said, right? So it's the time, right? some capacity, some time. And so I went to work. I was really scared to do this. And I said, hey, I went to my boss. I said, they knew that I was moving. They knew it. Right. They knew that I was moving. I asked for a raise. That was its own whole ordeal. Nothing. I won't go into the details of that because that's still kind of up in the air. That's still kind of moving. But I went to my boss and I said, okay, look, I'm moving and I'm looking at going part-time here because I like what I do here. I like being a part of Illinois Recovery Center. I really do like it and I want to work here. However, the commute of an hour and 20 minutes, 4 days a week, having a commute of almost 3 hours, 4 days a week is not doable for me. That is just, especially with the money I'm making, nope. It doesn't make sense. So I like what I do here. And if I'm able to go part-time, hey, I'd like to go part-time 2 days a week. Here are the days I'm thinking. My boss was like, okay. She was like, I don't have a problem with that. I think that we can make that work. You know, she understands I've got goals and I've got other things that I want to do. And she was like, okay, I think we can make that work. I'm for it. So let me run this up the chain and everything like that. So there really hasn't, there's essentially, this was, I don't know, this is probably, I don't remember when this conversation was, maybe a month ago, maybe less than a month ago. I'm really not too sure within that month time frame though. And so essentially so nothing's set in stone just yet. We're still trying to kind of work out some of the details and, looking at, okay, what would the pay be? Because the moving's happening, right? The moving, I'm for sure moving. That is happening for sure. Now it's just like, okay, what would the work piece? Now we just kind of got to figure that out. What's the finances look like? So I can start kind of getting that all lined up. And so we're just kind of waiting on that. So essentially 2 days a week, right here. I was like, that's doable. And then that gives me the freedom to, be with the family, right? This new family that I've got, this family that I'm building and this family that we're forming, Beanie and her daughter, her 12-year-old daughter, who's awesome, by the way. And so, I'm grateful that one, I'm able to bring up my needs and say, hey, I've got a need here and this is what I need. And, if they're not okay with it, then they're not okay with it. And that's, that tells me, some of the other actions I need to take. And so I'm grateful for, okay, so we're taking some actions and things are kind of moving along. Again, there's still some things up in the air. Now, the unknowns, right? The things up in the air, that's the scary piece of this. And this is what leads to my urges, right? I've had some pretty strong urges over the last couple of weeks to the point where I had a plan. I knew what it was going to look like. My urges were very specific. And I knew exactly what that looked like, what I was going to do, or not that I thought that I wanted to do, right? Like there was a face involved. It was very detailed in the urge. It wasn't just like, okay, I want to go act out. It was, I want to go act out in a very specific type of way and very specific verbiage around the acting out too, right? So, being able to share that. Now, social media doesn't help as well. I'm really looking at my social media intake, Facebook. Man, it's just the things that can be put on these platforms and it's dangerous. I'm going to put it that way, man. It's dangerous. And so I'm looking at that too, right? And it's not lost on me again, the needs that are there, right? And it was really special. So I really got to share this with Beanie too, right? I got to share with her. And there was part of this that I was really scared to share with her. So the only social media that I have is Facebook. And, that's an escape in its own right. Like grabbing for the phone and clicking on the Facebook app. That's an escape in its own, right? Regardless of the content that I'm looking at, that is an escape, right? So we've got that escape. Well, then we get down to the content that I'm actually looking at. And it's the thirst traps that people can get away with these days on these sites it's kind of ridiculous. And so I was really afraid to kind of say hey, I'm looking at some questionable content. It's not porn. However, it's very, very close. It teeters. I think recently within the last couple weeks, I was so spun up to where the thought that was in my head, which this typically isn't a thought, is I'm just going to go look at porn. I can justify porn. Right? I'm not actually not acting out with anybody. It's probably a little bit of a lesser blow. It's something maybe a little easier to talk about, to confess. But again, right? Like, what is going on? What is the need? And so I shared this with Beanie. I shared this with her. And I'm so grateful that I can do this. So grateful that I can share with her where I'm at, and that, hey, I'm having urges. And not only that I'm having urges, is that social media is not helping, and it's actually kind of playing into these things. And there's some questionable material that I'm looking at, and I just want to share this with you. And she was grateful for the honesty. And one of the things that like could potentially hold me back is any anxieties that I cause in her. Don't want to cause those anxieties, right? I don't want to mess with her self-esteem. And she hasn't voiced any anxieties or anything like that with the things that I've told her around this. But it was really cool. So we were texting. I don't know, I think it was a couple days after I shared that with her, and I was still kind of going through it. And she said to me, "This was really special. It was really special, and it was really cool." She said, "What part of you is hurting? What part of you needs to be seen?" And I was like, "Whoa, man." I'm so grateful to have a partner that hits me with that question. Now, in that moment, I didn't know, right? And it was something really cool and interesting to reflect over. It was really cool. It was really interesting. And it got me thinking, right? So, like, I'm grateful for it because it gave me something to chew on. It gave me something to chew on and some things to sit at and look at and, like, all right, like, let's take a look at this. And, in my reflecting of that question, right? What part of you is hurting? What part needs to be seen? And I don't know if it's basically like the answer that I came up with was I don't know if it's a singular part in me. It might just be the whole me. It might just be the whole me. Maybe I feel like, and this is where like my communication comes into play, is like maybe I don't feel like I'm fully all the way being seen, because I actually don't feel like that. I don't feel like I'm seen, right? Like I've got this confidence in myself. Thank God for the program and for my higher power and the people around me. Shout out to them again, because without them, I wouldn't be here. Is that I've got this confidence in myself. I know what I bring to the table. And so, when I go in and I ask for a raise, right? Because I'm not just some run-of-the-mill cookie-cutter person in this job. I bring a dynamic to this job that you can't just find on the street. And then that's not me being arrogant or bragging, but it's just like this. There's a confidence in me, right? So when I go in and I ask for more money, and I'm met with basically roadblocks and red tape, yeah, no, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. Personal ego's involved too, like on the other side of this, on the other side of the table, not me. Yeah, man, it's going to make you feel a certain type of way. And just in the things that I'm doing, like, and now what I'm grateful for, right, is with this confidence, right? So I need to be careful with this, because this confidence can lead to a very woe is me type of place, right? Like knowing that, like, hey, man, I bring this to the table and no one is tapping into this. Now I'm tapping into it, and that's what's important. I just made that connection there. For so long, I've wanted other people to see in me what I know is there, and for them to tap into it. Now that's not happening. But do I even want it to happen like that? I don't. I think I want things given to me. However, I don't really want things given to me. I want to tap into it myself. I want to give myself these things. I want to give myself the opportunities so that I can say I did it. Again, for the confidence piece, not an arrogant piece. So if I have this confidence in myself, and then I say, okay, well, the people around me aren't tapping into this. They're not using me. They're not tapping in. I'm just, well, screw them. I can get resentful. I can get right. I can get all these things. And I will say I'm not really there. Are there thoughts? Absolutely. Absolutely, there are thoughts. Are there resentments? Sure, there are. They're in there. They're not real big. They're not driving the bus today, though. I'm grateful for that. They're not driving the bus. And so back to like, okay, this is where going part-time comes into play. Is time for me to invest in myself, invest in what I bring up to the table. And all right, I'm going to work for this thing. I'll put some work in because I'm worth it. And I know I've got it in me. And I know that any work that I put in will pay off. It's really interesting, man. So me and Beanie were talking recently. So this month, November, I stepped on the scale back in September and I was 240 pounds. Now, when I got into recovery, I was 260 pounds. And then I got down to about, it took me about a year and a half, but then I got down to about 210. I lost a bunch of weight. Well, then I got into a relationship and I started a new job. Those relationships, man, they'll get you. It's happy weight though, right? So I'm putting the weight back on. I feel gross about myself, right? I just have this negative. I've always struggled with my body image. I've always struggled with it, man. Always, always, always. Now, by no means, am I ever going to be cut and, jacked and say 12-pack abs? Like, no. But I want to be comfortable, right? I want to be comfortable. I want to walk around at a healthy weight. There's health issues involved in all that too, right? Not that I have any, but I don't want any to be brought on. So I'm going, all right, I got to do something differently. Well, I was listening to this podcast about fasting and how good fasting can be for the types of fat that we're trying to lose. Just overall body wise, right? Fasting is really good for us. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So for the month of November, I'm doing 9 days, 1 meal a day. So 9 days in a row, 1 meal a day, and then a 48-hour fast. Then we're doing 9 days, then another 9 days, 1 meal a day, 48-hour fast, and then another 9-day. And then I think we end the month on a fast. And so I'm 6 days in and I'm 6 pounds down. And, I'm trying to eat, proteins, chicken breast, Greek yogurt, protein shakes, trying to keep up on the protein and less on like the filler foods. And so, but before that, so leading up to November 1st, I have this all or nothing mentality mindset, right? Did I mention that I'm an addict? Did I mention that? Because if I didn't, now would be a good time to mention that my brain likes to function in black and white, all or nothing. So leading up to November 1st, I was basically like, I'm going to eat anything and everything. I don't even care. I'm not even going to watch it anymore. And that fed more into the negative self-image that I had of self, right? I can't stop eating everything. I'm eating everything. Oh my gosh. November 1st hits, boom, flip a switch. Dude, I have stuck with it. I'm stuck with it. I feel good. I'm hungry. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I haven't eaten anything today, and I won't eat anything until tonight. I'm hungry. Yes. And I also need to know myself, right? If hunger is a big trigger for me, then maybe I don't need to be fasting. Maybe I don't need to be doing 1 meal a day. So what does that look like? When it came to stopping the chewing tobacco, right? It was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Beanie pointed out, she was like, Alex, she was like, your brain fascinates me, because she was like, you can essentially flip this switch and anything that you put your mind to, you can achieve. And I said, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's really cool to see. My issue is, what is the motivation? But what is it that I need to flip that switch? Is it desperation? Right? Is it gaining so much weight that I'm like, I cannot go any further. I do not want to go any further. I am desperate to stop. The chewing tobacco was all financial reasons. I am desperate to try to save money. I don't know. I don't know because I'm often, a lot of times, I'm very indecisive and I'm not great at like sticking with things. I am though too at the same time. Hold on, I'm gonna give myself some credit here. Because I'm looking at my program over the last 4.5 years, right? The podcast, the program, the sobriety. Like, I've made some commitments and I've stuck with those commitments. So, yeah, good job. So, yeah, so that was like, it was really cool to see, right? That, hey, like, I do have that in me. I have that in me that if I put my mind to something, I can achieve it. So, okay. I like that. So it was cool that she brought that part up, and I got to see that. That was nice. But again, right? So like, all right, what's the motivation? Or is it just, hey, I'm going to do this. Here's my timeline. This is when I'm going to start, and this is when I'm going to stop. Because the other thing that I'm doing this month is trying to change things up this month. November is the 11th month. The 11th step is sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as I understood God, praying for only the knowledge of God's will for me and the power to carry that out. Now, I've been struggling with my faith lately. I've been struggling with my faith with this move coming up with the work, with the finances. I have been struggling to put my faith into my higher power, into the God of that I understand. And so I said, okay, you know what? Last year I did that in the 10th month, right? Continue to take inventory. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I did that 30-day inventory with Ricky. I didn't do that this month. I didn't do that this year. So I said, okay, I'm struggling with my faith. I'm going to make a commitment that I'm going to start writing God a letter every night. So instead of my normal prayer routine, which is hit my knees, I get in bed with my notebook. I went out, I bought a specific notebook. I sit in bed and I write a letter to God. Now, the letter to God is almost the exact same format as me if I was on my knees praying. Now, I told this to Jeff, my sponsor, recently, and he said, okay, Alex, he's like, that's a great intention, man. What's the point of the intention, though? Now, there is no, I'm not looking for a transaction. I'm not looking for anything specific other than, you know what, I want to improve my conscious contact with God. And I want to invest time into that relationship. Now, what I've noticed is that when I have to write these things out, I spend more time doing it. So instead of hitting my knees and, 2 minutes of prayer, now I'm writing for 10, 15 minutes. And what I really like about it is it's giving me an opportunity to reflect on some of the feelings that are coming up around the things that I'm bringing to my higher power. I'm getting more of a chance to sit quietly with those feelings because they pop up while I'm writing. I can put my pen down and I can sit quietly, right? Also, too, I can take pauses and what do I want to move on? What's the next thing that I want to pray for? So like it's all that it's doing. Again, I wouldn't say that the clouds have parted, the burning bushes has been speaking to me every day, but just like spending more time in that space with my heart. Like that is where I want to be. And so I'm really grateful that I said I was going to do that and I've stuck with it, right? And I'm going to continue to stick with it because I know that it's good for me to do that. So I'm going to stick with it. And it's a good action for me to take, right? And I'll probably incorporate this moving forward. Now, again, we're not at the end of the month, so we'll see. But, it's like, okay, again, I'm proving to myself that I can say I'm going to do things and then I can stick with those things. And so I challenge you, to anybody out there, like try that. Try it, right? Try writing God a letter every day for a month. Or just for today. We don't even have to go that far forward into the future, right? I can just say, you know what? I'm going to write a letter to my higher power today. And then I can go and do that, right? And then tomorrow, just for today. Because that's all that it is, right? It's just for today. So yeah, got some good things, right? Now it's not lost on me the fear that's involved, right? The unknowns that's involved. However, I caught myself last week. Last week I was down with Beanie and I had taken my dog Max down because for Halloween I was a hunter and Max River, her dog, Beanie, and her daughter were the herd of deer. So I was the hunter decked out in my camo and they were a herd of deer and it was really cool. But I had to take Max down there with me and I haven't been doing that a whole lot because it can be a little stressful and anxiety inducing for me and him as well. So had Max down there with me and it felt good, right? And we were kind of more in a routine of like, hey, she's doing homework, so whoops. Okay, so I think we're back. I think that should all kind of piece it all together. I hit a chord in here and but anyway, so I was down in Farmington and I realized like I caught myself a couple times saying, man, I really like this life that I have down here. I really like this life that I have, and that for me, I think is very, very specific. That I noticed that, and that because I said that to myself a couple times out loud. It's like, man, I like my life down here, and so I need to keep that in mind. So I told some people, I told Beanie that too, and so yeah, so I'm ready. I'm ready, right? We've done some work, and I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready to go down and do it. I'm ready to step up and move on to this next kind of chapter phase of my life. And I'm really excited. And of course, the beauty of all this is like, I'm going to bring you all along with me. And, I'm excited to kind of get some more time to invest in the podcast and invest in myself, man, because the investing in the show is an investment in me, in the things that I'm trying to do. They totally align with what I'm trying to do in my own life. And again, that is to help myself and help other people, right? Continue to carry the message and also to hear the message as well, right? Because I want to hear the message. So, you guys are all going to come with me. And I just thank you guys so much for joining me on my journey. It means so much to me. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I love you all. And again, like I started the beginning of the podcast, I love doing this. I love tying this all together. Is like, I believe in you. I believe in you just like I believe in myself. And again, if you can't believe in yourself today, just know that Alex Big Panda does. I believe in you. You have what it takes to get through today. Thank you so much for joining me on my journey. If you guys want to reach out, if you guys want to connect with me, the email for the show is nolionshere@gmail.com. Again, that's nolionshere@gmail.com. Go ahead and reach out to me. Definitely go check out BAI and what they're doing. The description will be in the link below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps me out. We're on all the different platforms, right? Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Go like, go follow, go subscribe. That really helps me out. That helps with, up things. Again, it's not about the numbers, but it's about the message, right? So the more subscribers I can get, the bigger the audience that I can reach to spread the message. And guys, I want to continue to spread the message. So help me spread the message. Thank you all so much for joining me on my journey. It means so much to me. It means so much to me. Thank you so much again, though, guys. And looking forward to the future. I'm excited about the future and where this thing's going to take me. So until next time, guys, keep coming back. It works if you work it. And again, you are worth it. I'm going to say that again. You are worth it. We'll see you guys next time.